Hello, friend, and welcome to Inside the Dark. Thank you for joining me. In the early morning hours of Christmas Eve 2024, a young mother named Promise Marcel laid in bed cuddling her two young children, 4-year-old Jacoby and his 1-year-old baby sister. The day ahead should have been filled with joy and cheer as the young mother finished wrapping gifts to put under the tree for her little ones, and maybe even made Christmas cookies with them to leave out with milk for Santa to visit that night. But that was not what the day was going to bring for Promise and her babies. As they laid in bed together, trying to get some rest, Promise knew there was tension in their apartment in Rosedale, Maryland, because the father of her children, Mark Jones, was also there, sleeping in the children's bedroom. And the night before, she said she got a bad feeling that something bad was going to happen, perhaps as a result of an argument between herself and Jones. So she said she called the police. But she said police told her that because there was no restraining order against Jones, there was nothing they could do to help her. She didn't go into detail about what may have occurred between her and Jones that prompted her to call police. But she said incidences of DV had occurred between her and Jones in the past, and she was worried they would continue. Without the help of the police, Promise took her children and kept them in her bedroom with her and tried to get some sleep, probably praying that the next day would be better. But she could have never known that not only would the next day not be better, but it would be the worst day of her life. Around 6:30 a.m. Christmas Eve morning, Mark Jones entered the room where Promise was sleeping with their children and began yelling and arguing with her. That was when she said her very brave little 4-year-old son Jacobe asked his father to leave. A request that apparently pushed him over the edge. And instead of being a man and a father and a responsible human being on Christmas Eve, he decided he wasn't going anywhere except to the closet to get his gun. According to Promise, the next thing she heard was a loud bang, and she could feel her shirt getting wet. Then 3 more shots as Jones shot her, their 2 children, and himself. Promise was grazed in the head with a bullet that embedded into her shoulder. Her 1-year-old baby girl was shot in the shoulder as well, and little Jacoby was shot in the head. Jones survived his gunshot wound, but Jacoby was pronounced deceased at the hospital. According to documents, the neighbor who heard the shots and called 911 told police they heard Promise begging Jones to please not do it before the shots rang out. Then, as Promise ran for help, Jones' mother said she missed a call from him, and when she FaceTimed him back, he was bleeding from the face and told her he couldn't take it anymore. So instead of loving his children enough to walk away, Jones decided to kill them and their mother instead.
Tonight, we're hearing from a mother who was shot along with her 2 children on Christmas Eve in Rosedale. One of those children, a 4-year-old boy, was killed in what police call a case of domestic violence. WJZ investigator Mike Helgren is live at District Court in Towson with the latest on the children's father, who was charged with murder. Mike.
A very sad story, Nikki. Now, his court hearing was postponed here today because he remains hospitalized. He shot himself in that incident. We did speak to the children's mother today. She allowed us to use a video she posted on social media from the hospital. She wants to prevent domestic violence and anyone else falling victim. A warning to our viewers, many of the details in this report are disturbing.
This is my story.
We've blurred the stitches in Promise Marcel's head. She posted this video after she says her children's father shot her and them on Christmas Eve in their apartment in Rosedale, Baltimore County.
If you're going through a domestic situation and you feel like you can't leave because that's the only person you got or whatever, leave before you end up like mine.
Marcel's 1-year-old daughter was shot in the shoulder. Her 4-year-old son, Jacobe, was shot in the head and died at Johns Hopkins. He loved dinosaurs.
This is Dinosaur. I just keep it with me.
According to charging documents, Marcel was sleeping in her bedroom with the kids. Their father, 30-year-old Mark Jones Jr., was sleeping in the children's room. Police say around 6 in the morning he came into the room and began arguing. 4-year-old Jacobe asked him to leave. That's when police say Jones retrieved a backpack from the closet and removed a handgun. Jones then began to load the handgun magazine with bullets. Their mother and children were all in the bed. The mother then heard a boom and felt the back of her shirt get wet, and she fell to the floor. She stated Jones then shot her son and then shot himself. She ran from the apartment to get help.
Pray for me, please. And give me your thoughts and donate to my baby, please.
Marcel revealed she called police earlier in the day, but they told her there was nothing they could do. She did not elaborate. Charging documents state the 911 caller heard Marcel screaming, "Please don't do it," followed by several gunshots.
I just want my son to know how much his mom pushed for him and that his mom loved him.
And Marcel told me she is very thankful for all the support she's received from across Baltimore. If you find yourself in a similar situation, you can dial 988 for help. That's 988. Police say the weapon they found at the scene was registered to the suspect. We're live in your corner in Towson. Mike Helgren, WJZ.
My son lost his life to a gun by the hands of his father.
30-year-old Mark Jones faces 8 charges, including first-degree murder, in the Christmas Eve shooting death of his 4-year-old son, Jacobe. The boy never got to open his Christmas presents.
My son off amazing. My son loved dinosaurs. He can tell you any dinosaur literally in the world. He was full of energy. He can light up a room. He asked a lot of questions. He was just an amazing little boy.
Baltimore County Police responded to a call for a shooting around 6:35 a.m. in the unit block of Breslin Court in Rosedale. The boy's mom, Promise Marcel, says there's a history of domestic violence at the residence.
I called the police earlier, a few hours before the incident, because I had a bad feeling. They told me basically because his name was on a piece of mail, it's nothing they can do.
Police are investigating the shooting as a domestic-related assault. What started the argument that led to the shooting has not been released. Responding officers located a total of 3 victims. A 1-year-old girl had also been wounded.
She was shot. It went through her, but thank God she made it.
A bullet grazed Marcel on the head and then went into her shoulder. She says she's speaking out to bring attention to domestic violence and encourage victims to leave.
If it happened before, it will happen again. It's not worth it. No, even if you're quote-unquote lonely or you want to make your family, because some people don't grow up with moms and dads, so they want to give their kid what they didn't have, but it's not worth it.
According to police, the suspect sustained a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He's now being held here at the Baltimore County Detention Center without bail.
An emotional funeral service today for a 4-year-old little boy shot to death in Rosedale on Christmas Eve. Police have charged his father with murder and say he also shot his young daughter and the children's mother. WJZ investigator Mike Helgren live on your corner in Baltimore County with a look at how this very young life is being remembered. Mike?
A terribly sad story, Denise. And the obituary for Jacobe Marcel called him the heart of his family. His mother said she wanted us here at the funeral today to highlight the impact of domestic violence. Jones remains behind bars facing murder and other felony charges that carry a life prison sentence.
We both laughed and I would say, "See you tomorrow, Dino boy." He loved when I called him that.
Jacobe's teacher wept as she remembered the sweet little boy she loved like her own son.
Kobe had a way of making me laugh. He was such a silly boy. I'm going to miss his smile.
Family and friends gathered around the hearse decorated with Jacobe's beloved dinosaurs as pallbearers took his tiny casket to its final resting place. And the family wants to thank the doctors and nurses at Johns Hopkins Hospital for treating them. Now, Jacobe's mom doesn't want anyone else to deal with what she has had to go through. If you need resources or assistance, you can always dial 988. Rest in peace, Jacobe Marcel. Denise, back to you.
Yeah, you can't even imagine, right, Jason, Deb? And tonight, that mother speaking with me after losing her 4-year-old son in a shooting where the bullets also hit her and her 1-year-old daughter. That mother tells me tonight that she just wants everyone to remember her son and keep his name alive.
I was grazed by a bullet in my head.
Promise Marcel coming to talk with 11 News outside of the hospital this evening with a bandage around her head, just 2 days after she and her 2 children were shot, killing her 4-year-old son.
I lost my son the day before Christmas. My son wasn't able to open any of his presents.
4-year-old Jacobe died at the hospital the morning of Christmas Eve. Her 1-year-old daughter survived the shooting. Baltimore County Police say they found the mother and 2 children shot in their Rosedale apartment off of Rossville Boulevard around 6:30 Tuesday morning.
A 1-year-old daughter, and she was shot. It went through her, but thank God she made it, but my boy didn't make it.
Those bullets, county police say, coming from the father of the children before turning the gun on himself. Police say he's currently stable at the hospital.
I lived in good neighborhoods, so my son it would never be a mistake thing, you know what I'm saying? But end up being something from someone, his father, someone he loved. Burying my son that's 4 years old. I never in my life thought that would ever happen.
But now Promise says she wants everyone to remember her son, Jacobe, as the happy, always smiling 4-year-old little boy he was.
I had an amazing 4-year-old son. He loved dinosaurs, Spider-Man and Sonic. Amazing little boy.
It's one of the reasons she met with us outside of the hospital tonight. The other reason, to bring awareness to domestic violence.
I know it's better easier than said, because anybody can say, hey, leave, you know, but you leave when you're ready. But take my story. Now that I was forced to leave, basically, I don't have my son. My baby not here with me no more.
Promise wants to share the important message that she says came out of her nightmare. If you're experiencing abuse or DV of any kind, seek help. Don't stay. It's not worth it.
A community walk along the streets of Rosedale tonight as residents and Baltimore County Police met to discuss community concerns surrounding recent public safety issues. This comes just days after a father was charged with killing his 4-year-old son in a triple shooting. The boy's mother was also shot, and she says she's struggling to get over the loss of her son.
That's my main focus, my 4-year-old that lost his life Christmas Eve. So many people been messaging me, so many prayers.
Fox 45's Keith Daniels was at this afternoon's walk and joins us live with the message from residents and leaders. Keith.
Well, Vince, Baltimore County Police say one of the main things they wanted to do at that community walk was to raise awareness about domestic violence and the resources to address it. And tonight, up close with one mother after the shooting death of her little boy. Baltimore County Police and other state and local elected leaders in step together. A community walk in the Ross Ridge neighborhood in Rosedale, a community hit hard by a tragic domestic incident over the holidays that left a 4-year-old boy dead.
We have reviewed the case that is pending, and we are working closely with the Baltimore County Police Department and the detectives to make sure that we put the best case forward.
Being a parent, you know, incidents like this make you want to hug your loved ones a little closer and a little longer.
Marcel at the community walk with Jacobe and his holiday thoughts on her mind.
He kept trying to open the presents. But I was like, you gotta wait till Christmas. And and he never got to open those presents. But I'm just keeping my son's name alive.
A fatal domestic incident that's rocked a mother and stirred this community. Organizers of this community walk say they're here with resources to help those who might need it.
Many times our victims, they're afraid for various reasons to not come forward, whether it's financial, security reasons, they feel trapped, or they're afraid to get their domestic partner in trouble. They need to find the courage to come forward.
And Marcel did come forward, a young mother coping with her loss.
As a mother, is nothing that can take the pain away. But I'm taking a day at a time.
And she's coping, she says, with an outpouring of support from her family and from the support group Turnaround, which was at the community walk today.
Hand in hand, taking one step at a time, community members are making sure their neighbor knows she's not alone.
I can't let myself go into deep depression because I have my daughter, my baby, Jacobe, my baby boy, and I have a baby girl. It's nothing that can take the pain away.
Marcel made a full recovery. Mark Jones is still recovering. However, her 4-year-old son, Jacobe Jones, died. A sad but familiar story. Delegate Carl Jackson says he knows from personal experience how domestic violence can shake up a life.
My mom dealt with an issue with domestic violence and had to end up staying in the House of Ruth. That was a very difficult time for her and our family.
This community walk isn't only to show support, but to raise awareness.
As a representative of this district, I see it as my job to help solve problems. And so, when this happened, I reached out to my local partners, the Turnaround organization.
Speaking to other victims who may be experiencing domestic violence, Chief Robert McCullough says they will always be there to help.
As a police chief, it can be difficult. As a man, as a father, as a grandfather, it's a very easy thing to do because I think we all have a responsibility to take care of one another.
While the community support, prayers, and love continue for Marcel, she also wants to encourage anyone experiencing domestic violence to leave.
Everybody that's going through my situation or anything, like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I lost my son. It's really not worth it.
May Jacobe's baby sister, who will now have to grow up never really knowing how special her big brother was, make a full recovery. And may little Jacobe Marcel rest in peace. Thank you again for joining me for this episode of Inside the Dark. Take care, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime stories.